What's up, boys and girls? How are you? Welcome in. Friday night in-game live. Matt Perrault, Dave Sharapan with you for 2 hours. We are loaded. So many good things to get into. And Dave's football team is playing in a playoff game this weekend. So what does he do? Well, he shows his true colors, puts it right on Front Street. Happy Friday night, Mr. Sharapan. I guess it's Go Steelers for you tonight, huh?
Well, I just want to make sure that, we're wearing the stuff, one, in case we're never going to wear it again until next season. So We'll get all of this out. I just came off of Game Time Decisions with K-Dub, and Lisi was on before me and wanted me to remind everybody that the Steelers have no chance. No chance at all. Can't win. Shouldn't even drive up, the Parkway and go to Buffalo, because I don't know if they can fly, because apparently the weather's going to be pretty bad. So, yep, we got all the Steelers stuff ready to go for the show. I'm excited.
See,
Listen, when your team gets to the playoffs, this is still fun. It's still fun.
Of course.
When your team is in, everybody's got a chance, despite the fact that, they're big dogs. They can't play without P.J. Watt. Nothing good is going to happen.
I would agree with all of those points, but here's the problem, and this is the one thing that I would hesitate for anybody who's looking to lay 9.5 or 10 points with Buffalo.
Right.
The number one critique of Josh Allen and this offense for the Buffalo Bills is that they don't play an offense that's conducive to playing in bad weather, which is exactly what the Buffalo Bills will see coming up this weekend against the Steelers. Yes. It's going to be bad weather. So if we play the narrative out that we have all talked about for a very long time, that they can't run the football, which they really can't, their best running back is their quarterback, which is not that great, and that throwing the football, depending upon what happens with the wind, like we just don't know right now what the wind's going to do, because if the wind hangs around from Saturday, no one's scoring at all on Sunday. We're talking about 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We're talking about like wind gusts that pick you up off your feet and put you somewhere else. So this is going to be brutal to be in the stands and to watch the game, brutal to play in the game. The worse the weather, the worse it is, the more likely it is your team wins.
Well, it sounded good to me. I mean, the wind is going to pick you up and put you somewhere else. What are you talking about? What is this, the Wizard of Oz?
65-mile-per-hour wind gusts. No, that's tropical storm, hurricane stars. That's ridiculously strong wind gusts. That's like moving objects, your body, you. 65-mile-per-hour is no joke. And, by the way, it's freezing cold. And, by the way, it's snowing sideways.
Yes.
So if you're going to look at that, I think there's a real good shot. The story of weather is obviously what's going to happen in Kansas City, where we're hearing from the National Weather Service that if you're going to go to the game, you are not supposed to leave a stitch of skin showing. Frostbite, 100% possible during the 3 hours for the game. Hands, nose, head, everything must be covered. And Tua announced he's not going to wear gloves. He's going to go no gloves, trying to throw the football in that ridiculously cold weather. Negative 30 wind chill.
Do you think there's going to be offensive linemen with the sleeves showing, like with the short sleeves? They're going to, come out and that, where you see linemen do it. Like, this is not the time to do it. If we were there, you just wear the long sleeves underneath. Don't worry about that. Can't. Back in the day, they used to do this, and I'd sit there and watch it. I used to go to games both at Penn State and like when I was young in Pittsburgh for the Steeler games, and people would take their shirts off to get on the Jumbotron and all this other stuff.
Can't do that now.
Like, you can't. This is not safe to just, like you said, be exposed. All of that said, this is an under, is it not?
Well, both games most likely will go under, but look, the Patriots and the Jets played a game in the snow in Foxborough. And if you can run the football, the Jets had a great time running the football against the Patriots run defense, which normally is pretty good, but you had Breece Hall going off for over 100 yards rushing in that game, and the Jets won the game, relatively easily, 17-3 final. That I think the game goes under, but turnovers will tell the story of that. If we're having fumbles and it's looking like, a couple of fifth grade football teams out there dropping the pass and fumbling the football, and it's becoming a problem, the game could go over. I mean, I think the move is the under. I think you could probably tease both unders up and feel pretty good about it. Say, okay, just take them both and give them both 6 points and get them up to 40, 50, right? And then 40, 50 and 40.
50. Yes, right. And 34 plus 6 is 40.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what the number is now because it's been dropping so dramatically all day. I just remember what the actual live number was. But yes, 40, 50.
I can't believe this. I have to pay Jack off. Jack, our producer, I have to pay him off a bet. You worked the Patriots into the first segment. I don't know how you did it. The season's over.
Yes,
100%. Belichick is retired out of New England.
Well, we're talking about that tonight. Absolutely, for sure. Yes. No, but I'm talking that we've had one real heavy snow game all year, and that was Jets Patriots. But there's no but. That's the truth. Like we've had one really heavy snow game, and we're expecting a very heavy snow game for both these games. We're expecting snow to be falling. Now, Buffalo's the question because the real heavy stuff is probably going to be out by kickoff. Because Saturday night they're going to get 18 inches of snow in Buffalo. they're going to get they've said that driving on Saturday night on the roadways in Buffalo will be impossible. Like you're not going to be able to drive in Buffalo. Don't even try it. So that's why there was the talk of moving the game to Cleveland because they wanted to know when the really heavy stuff was going to hit. Yeah. But Sunday looks like we're okay. It's going to be breezy and windy and snow and cold, but it's not going to be like, blizzard whiteout conditions like what we're seeing right now in the Midwest, which is
when is the last time you drove in the snow?
What do you mean drive in the snow? Like distance or just driving?
Just in general with that sideways snowing and the ice on the roads and like that white knuckle 10 and 2. When is the last time you were in that mode? When do you remember?
Last year when I was home. Yeah, last year when I was home for Christmas in Boston.
Do you still got it? Can you still do it?
Oh, yeah. I still got it for sure. Yeah. But I lived in Omaha and I lived in Des Moines and I lived in the places where you don't know where the roadway is. Like I've driven down between Omaha and Kansas City is Highway 29 and you can't see it. I've driven on it where you literally don't know where the road is and you're hoping that you stay on the road because it's so ridiculous whiteout conditions. Bad. I've been in those situations. For all the driving I did in New England growing up, the most scared I have been in my life is driving in the Midwest in the snow. It is crazy. It is crazy.
If I come back east, I'm hiring Jack to drive me around. I'm not
smart.
Doing it. Yeah,
smart.
I need a young guy who's done it and is current because I don't think I could do it. I get nervous.
Absolutely. Right. Get Jack to drive you around. That'll be awesome. We got a lot to come here. We're going to take a look at the NBA. We have all playoff games to get into. We'll break it down more heavily. Hockey games as well, going on to basketball as well next year. In-game live on a Friday night. Matt and Dave, don't move.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
InGame Live on a Friday night. Dave Sharapan, Matt Perrault with you guys. We will get to the Alabama football news. The Crimson Tide have made it official. They are going to hire a guy from the Pacific Northwest to come in and be their head coach. We'll get more on Coach DeBoer becoming the new head coach of Alabama in a second. But before we talk college football, we were talking about what's going on with the Dolphins and their injuries on the road against Kansas City on Coast to Coast. Dr. Chow came on from SportsGrid to give us an update on what's going on defensively for all the injuries for Miami.
The Dolphins have been loaded with injuries. They have Waddle an ankle, Mostert a knee and ankle. Will they have them back tomorrow night? How effective are they going to be? And on D, will they have Holland with the knee and Ramsey with the knee?
Yeah, great questions. And everyone's talking about, of course, their offensive players, Mostert, Waddle. I think they're both going to try and play. Tyreek Hill still seen in a boot here and there. Of course, he's going to play. But is Connor Williams and the left guard out on the offensive side? That's the bigger deal. Defensively, yes. The biggest deal is no Xavier Howard. Yes, Jalen Ramsey did not look that good against Buffalo. And there are some defensive questions there. But the main questions there are at linebacker. In the last 2 weeks, they have lost 4 linebackers, 5 for the season, including number 1, 2, 3, and 4 edge rushers. They also lost Jerome Baker. They obviously lost Bradley Chubb 2 weeks ago, but Van Ginkel and Good are out, as well as Jerome Baker. Melvin Ingram needs to be a force at edge rusher. They just signed Justin Houston and need to acclimate him. The linebacker core and edge rushers are decimated for the Miami Dolphins in that cold weather game.
So while the weather is definitely a story, Dave, I think the injuries from Miami obviously are going to be a significant impact. The weather has caused the line to move, but I think the injuries have caused this line to move more than anything else. We're at 4.5 for Miami, 0-10 Tua in freezing temperatures straight up. We know Patrick Mahomes is very good in bad weather. You were being told that that the Steelers have no chance. I've heard the Dolphins have no chance. Do you agree?
Oh, they have no chance. Yeah. The game's going under. They shouldn't even show up again. How do warm weather teams playing cold weather places? You've been telling me this all week on the BVB. They can't play in this conditions. The conditions are bad for both teams. The books aren't at 7 yet. They're only at 4.5. I'm telling you, the Dolphins are live to cover. Outside shot, the worst game of the season for the Chiefs. That means the Dolphins can win. I really think it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't want any points scored. I hope the final score of this game is 10-7. That's only. I just want an under game on Saturday night. We're making arrangements. We have the Peacock, so we'll be okay. But a lot of people don't, and they got to find a way to watch this game. I think you can. You know.
Do you want a hack? Do you want me to give out a hack to everybody?
I'm all ears. I love when you do
I'm not
this.
sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to get in trouble or not for doing this, but this is a little bit of a hack.
Okay.
Instacart gives you a 2-week free trial of Peacock if you sign up for their free trial for their service for free, and you just cancel it before it kicks in until you pay.
There you go. That's how you watch the game.
So if you're so curious, Instacart will get your data. So if you're okay with giving your data to Instacart, but Instacart is giving away free 2 weeks trials of Peacock. So
how about that? I'll have to mention that to Aunt Mary Jane down in Florida.
So if you're looking for ways to just get it and then delete it, a free trial on both. That's one way you can go and get a free trial for both for that. But there's a lot of people who are really upset about this. And I think the NFL has to be aware of this because you don't want your fans to be angry about having a playoff game be on the pay-per-view side. But it is not going to go away. We're going to see more and more of this as the years go on. And with the report that came out tonight from the New York Post that the ESPN and the NFL Network are very close to a deal in which we will see a sharing of resources between the NFL and ESPN, and the NFL Network will be run by ESPN. We're going to see a lot more of these pay-per-view football games, Amazon type, putting the games on streaming services. And when ESPN goes to their own standalone streaming service, this is just the way we're going. Like, this is not going to go away. So we all kind of have to just get around it and deal with it and go, okay, I'm just kind of bummed out that it's not Al Michaels calling the game. Like playoff football with no Al Michaels is weird. I don't know. I'm 46, so I'm used to it. Not having him there is going to be weird.
All things come to an end, Perrault. Just like Belichick stay in New England. You're getting older. You have to face the reality. These things happen. It's fine. Move on from it. We'll find a way to watch it. Yes. There's a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of messages right now and people in the chat. They need to know.
Hi.
Are you wearing the blue blazer? Okay, because it pops. The boys and girls watching the show are telling me it pops. Is this for the Lions on Sunday, or is it for North Carolina on Saturday?
Always for Carolina. It's always for Carolina. It's always for Carolina.
Syracuse. They're going to blow out.
I've been betting 4 straight games now on Carolina. So they're 4-0 against the spread. They've been crushing it. I'm on it again. Syracuse is garbage. So tomorrow, North Carolina, lay the wood. It's a big number. Don't care. Carolina at home. So yes, the blue is for Carolina, but it can double for the Honolulu blue for the Lions.
Okay,
and I'm not opposed.
Matches my hat. Look at my hat. Matches my hat.
Love that. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. If we could play it out, if I could play it out, if I'm playing, fairy god whatever, and I can pick and choose whatever I want, right? And I pick and choose the storylines I want. I want the Chiefs on the road. Okay, I want them to win the game and go on the road. That's what I want. Okay, I want Patrick Mahomes to go on the road, and then when he loses, I can go, see, you should have stopped talking. So then that. The second storyline is I really want to see the Lions go on a run, because the longer that Dan Campbell stays alive, the more fun it's going to be to hear him in post-game press conferences. The guy's amazing.
Right.
So
yes.
This number with the Lions at nearly 10-1. I think there's value on this. I really do. I think there's value on the Lions, but their defense has got to show up, and I'm concerned.
Short favorite. Short
favorite against a Rams team that can run the football,
right,
and throw.
Yeah.
This Rams team, everyone is on the Rams. Everyone.
Yes.
And I can't fight too hard against it. I understand the point. Puka and Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford revenge game, all this stuff. It makes total sense. Jared Goff pukes all over himself. All of it.
Whoa.
But man, I want I want the Lions to win this game. It would
Every
be really
single
fun.
week you bring up puking on yourself. Every single week on this show, some point you mentioned that, which kind of gives me that gag reflex, but that's different
It's Detroit.
story.
Oh, it's Detroit. Their most famous rapper is who?
Eminem.
And he owns a restaurant called what?
Mom Spaghetti.
Hey, now we're understanding what we're doing.
Okay. Everybody in the 313. All right, listen, I like what you're doing. Okay, listen, you can start rapping anytime you want
That's
to.
what we're talking
I do
about,
it all
puking.
the time on the other show.
Yes. Vomiting on my sweater already.
They're going to be small dogs. If they win and Dallas wins, they're going to go back. Now, that game opened 5.5, 6. It closed 4. They're going to come about 4.5, depending on injuries. It'll be lower than the original number was, but it'll be a little bit higher because Dallas is at home. If they look impressive, you won't make it shorter. You'll make it a little bit, over 4, maybe 4. So you take that money line, and then can Detroit go to San Francisco and win?
No. Go Pack, go. Go Pack, go. Go Pack, go. We got more of the Packers and the Cowboys coming up next. In-game live. Don't move on our Friday night. Matt and Dave here on SportsGrid.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Weiss said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those 2 plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. It's not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
In-game live on a Friday night. Matt Perrault and Dave Sharapan with you guys. We're going through football. The big playoff games happening Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We'll go back to them here in just 1 second. But Alabama has made it official. They have hired Kellen DeBoer. He is going to be their new head coach to replace Nick Saban. That is a done deal. He comes in here after winning the Pac-12 title, going 14-0 in the regular season, and then, or 14 overall, and then going and losing to Michigan in the national championship game. Dave, we did this on BVB. I want to do this here about the resume for one Mr. Kalen DeBoer. It is incredibly impressive what this guy is coming off of. He's coming off of the Coach of the Year in the AP, the Eddie Robinson, the Home Depot, Sporting News, and Walter Camp. He has won national championships on the NAIA level. He won a Pac-12 championship. He's 104-12 as a head football coach.
That's pretty good.
With zero ties to the South. Are you concerned at all about this hire?
What was Nick Saban's ties to the South when he got hired there?
He won the national championship at LSU.
So LSU, he established the Southern ties and then went to Alabama.
He won at LSU, went to Miami, flamed out, went back to Alabama, and dominated.
So he went to LSU without any Southern ties, right? And won
from
a
Michigan
national
State. Correct. Yep. From Michigan State.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, it can be done. It's been done. I don't think it's impossible. It's a different landscape now. College football's changed completely. I mean,
That's true.
It's completely changed. You might be able to do this anywhere where it'll spend. We're going to see.
Do you know who hasn't changed? Do you know what's not changed, though?
What?
The Alabama fan base. College football can change all they want. Bama fans aren't changing. Roll Tide fans aren't changing. They will give him zero time. He will have zero patience from the fan base. It's
3
the same
years?
thing that Auburn did. 2 years. He'll have 2 years to be in the playoffs. If he misses even 1 year, if he misses the playoffs next year, I mean, it's on. He's on 100% on the hot seat. They did this at Auburn when Brian Harsin became the head coach coming over from Boise State. He had no ties to the South, and in 2 years he was gone. Who replaced him? Hugh Freeze, a guy with massive baggage but ties to the South. Look, I covered Alabama in the worst time in modern memory, from Mike Dubose to Mike Price to Mike Shula, and then Nick Saban rolled into town. Now, they won championships with Gene Stallings, and they've had a long history with Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, and there are people still alive to this day who remember Bear Bryant, who have seen all these coaches come through. And when you hire a guy who is being called a Yankee over and over again from the Bama fan base just in the last 3 hours, I'm watching people I know who go, great, we hired a Yankee. That press conference better be impressive. He better knock it out of the park when he gets introduced, and he's got a long way to go to make Bama fans feel like, okay, even with him being the hand-picked successor, because it's coming out more and more that Nick Saban's the one that said go hire him.
Yeah, and that's, I think, going to give him, if you think it's only 2, I think it's 3 years to, but he's taking over a team that just lost in the playoff in overtime to the national champion. There's not going to be a drop off from talent level. The kids are there. Now, some are going to leave because Nick's gone. Well, we'll see it play out. But, I mean, you may get different kids to come now that weren't going to.
So, but Bama's always recruited.
It's still the SEC. I think the appeal is still there. I think I would caution. I mean, the guy's record, what'd you say it was? 104-12?
Yeah, as a head coach. I mean, but he's only been a head coach. He's only been a head coach. He was at Fresno State for 2 and Washington for 2. Okay, so I get it. I mean, like, you can say his resume is impressive, but also it's thin. I mean, he's 49 years old, and he's going to have to recruit the South, where it can be difficult. Speaking from experience, it can be difficult when you go down there without any ties to that region. it takes time. You got to prove yourself. You got to show that you know and you belong. And winning cures everything. But who's his quarterback? Is Jalen Milroe his quarterback? It's a big question mark. They already lost Bond today. The receiver that caught the game-winning touchdown against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, he left. They lost a 5-star recruit yesterday. So he has to do damage control. He has to keep the program together and then add. And who's the quarterback? Does he want Jalen Milroe? Because he's the antithesis of what Michael Penix Jr. was last year.
Yeah, the transition is going to be the hardest part, right? And like you said, he's going to be under the utmost scrutiny. I don't know. I didn't see this one coming, as far as like the list of guys who everyone was talking about. He was pretty far down. It wasn't one of the, top guys. Or it's hard to leave a program when it's at its peak or close to it. Washington just played in a championship game. He must have known, or they went to him and, said, listen, Nick wants you to come down. He wants you to take his place.
Well,
I mean, when you get tapped on the shoulder, let's go.
Do you know who the biggest winner in all of this is? So Jimmy Sexton's the agent for Nick Saban. Okay. So Nick Saban calls his agent and says, hey, I'm going to retire. Alabama knew that Nick Saban was going to leave, but Jimmy Sexton probably knew first. Jimmy Sexton then went and got a contract extension for Dan, who was on the staff of Nick Saban and a coach at Georgia. He is also represented by Jimmy Sexton. The second call went to Steve Sarkisian, head coach of Texas, who then parlayed that into a long-term extension at Texas, to then turn around and to get Kalen DeBoer hired, who was also represented by Jimmy Sexton.
Is Jimmy Sexton taking on any new clients? I'm going to call him up. That's unbelievable. What a parlay that is.
That is a master class of how to get yourself 5% commission off of every new contract that will change the face of college football.
Incredible. That is an unbelievable 3-game parlay in 24, 48 hours, right?
You get more money. Lanning's locked up long-term. Sarkisian's locked up long-term. DeBoer is locked up at Alabama. I can't wait to hear what they're paying him. But yeah, Jimmy Sexton did a master class of positioning his clients to get the maximum amounts of money because only he knew that Nick Saban was going to walk away. Right. So it's brilliant. Right. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, and it's just the way the world works when it comes to college football and coaches. But the NIL world drove Nick Saban out. And, Bill Belichick leaving, he leaves his program to a 37-year-old, the youngest head coach now in the NFL. But, I mean, the pressure is going to be so different on DeBoer than it is going to be on Gerard Mayo. Patriot fans want to win, but pro football is such a different animal than what is down in the South. As you mentioned today on BVB, like if the Patriots are bad, you go watch the Bruins. The Bruins lose, you go watch the Celtics. Celtics are bad, you go watch and hang out in the bleachers of Fenway Park. Alabama's got – what has Alabama got?
Boston's. Alabama's
what's Bama got?
Auburn.
They got
the Huntsville
baseball.
Stars.
Huntsville Stars. That's a little north of Tuscaloosa, but okay, yeah.
Okay,
they're now the Huntsville Trash Pandas. By the way,
that's a real name.
A real name. They are the Huntsville Trash Pandas.
Trash Pandas.
Mm-hmm. Look it up.
Okay,
yep.
I'm going to have to look this up.
They had an online vote for different team names, and there was the Trash Pandas was one of them, and the Huntsville Trash Pandas became a reality. Gotta love minor league baseball.
I guess so. I don't even know. We have to see if the boys can pull a logo up for the Trash Pandas. I have no idea what the Trash Pandas are, what colors they would even be, and why the word trash is involved. Like the pandas,
don't know.
Huntsville Pandas would have worked. Made no sense because there's no pandas in Huntsville. But Trash Pandas, okay.
Oh, sorry. Huntsville is a rocket city, so that's why. I mean, when you come to my house, you see a picture of the rocket, which makes Huntsville the rocket city. That's what's on my wall when you walk into my house. That's the rocket that makes it Rocket City because NASA is based in Huntsville. There are literal rocket scientists walking around Huntsville all the time. So I lived there for 5 years.
Trash. I don't understand what's
Rocket City
trash is
Pandas,
the Sacramento Kings right now, down 55-36 with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter.
What is going on? NBA's
Sacramento was favored. They were favored
last 2
going
nights
into the game.
I mean, Boston punted. The Blazers lost by 62 points last night, their worst loss in their franchise history.
Oh,
I mean, it's been a funny 2 days. 2 days in the NBA. A lot of blowouts. A lot of teams punting on games. I mean, Boston literally punted that game last night, but they rested their whole starting 5 in the second half.
That's good. See, now you can talk about the bad things of Boston too. This is good because you're always talking about the Boston this, the Boston that.
No,
the Celtics got
killed them.
smoked.
I mean,
yesterday
they beat the best team in the West the night before, and Tatum went for 45, and he played 42 minutes. They were tired, and they had to go to Milwaukee on a back-to-back.
Oh,
and they said, "Forget it. we don't need this game. You can have it." Like it's one of 82.
Milwaukee,
here you go,
4-point favorite too.
We're done. Yeah, and then they 132-105 or something. It was nasty. We'll take a look at some hockey scores on the other side in a college basketball game tonight in the snow. The game won't be played in the snow, but the snow in place. Next.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, your mind. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
In game live on a Friday night here on SportsGrid. Matt Perrault and Dave Sharapan with you guys. Thanks for hanging on out. We are talking football, some basketball, some hockey. We have a college basketball game happening a little bit later on in about 50 minutes, Dave. Iowa hosting Nebraska. A little Big Ten rivalry game going after it here. I laid the 4 with Iowa. Up to 4.5 now. Nebraska off of their big win, the first time they beat a number 1 team in the country since 1982 when they knocked off Purdue at home in their last game. Iowa's been a little bit of an up and down team, but they can really score. If you like KenPom projections, KenPom has this as a 1-point win, but fading a team that just had their biggest win in 40 years? Maybe. Not a bad play. Why do you like Nebraska?
Not a bad play, but yes, I like Nebraska. Let me just take a quick look here. Hawkeye 6-4 last 10, averaging 85 points a game.
Give up
shooting 48% from the field. Wow, they give up a lot of points, Perrault.
They do.
They give up 78.5 points a game. Concern you that Nebraska will have not an easy ability to score, but I think this game goes back and forth, goes over. And we were talking about the weather earlier. Not going to be a lot of people at this game, limiting transportation to and from. Quiet gym. Nobody there. Favors Nebraska.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Somebody reached out to me and said the kids are still there. Like the kids will go.
Right.
The students can go.
Okay.
So while it may not be a huge crowd, you're still going to have kids who can walk. If the kids can walk to Carver Hawkeye, they'll be there. So there will be some people, there will be some fans who are there. The thing for Nebraska is that they are a make or miss team in terms of shooting the 3. Like when they were at home, they hit 2 3-pointers against Creighton and they lost by 29. Against Purdue, they hit 14 and they won the game by 18. So it really comes down to that one stat. If you're going to watch Nebraska, what's the how many 3-pointers are they going to hit? And you know, give me the number, and I can tell you who wins the game.
Yeah, I still think it goes over, so I'm leaning Nebraska. Let's put it there. You got me down a rabbit hole right now with this trash pandas, which I didn't even think was a raccoon. And now I'm looking at the merch. I'm looking at hats. You got me completely distracted. I got to close this tab.
It's a popular selling thing, right? It's a popular hat.
It is.
It looks good. It looks nice.
They did a great
That's why
job
they aimed
with
it. So just for the record, Nebraska, 36.6% of their total points come from behind the 3-point line.
Ooh.
Okay.
Is that a high
for
percentage?
Iowa, yeah, it's really high, 37th in the country in terms of how high it is. For Iowa bombs threes, but only 24.2% of their offense points scored come from behind the arc.
Because
so they take a lot of threes.
They shots. They miss
they make them. So they make them.
What do you mean?
They shoot 34.5% from behind the arc.
Nebraska, I'm talking Iowa.
Me too. Iowa hits 34.5% of their shots from behind the arc. So when they take them,
24% of their points.
Right, because they get to the line, they do other things. Iowa won't. Right. If Iowa's cold from behind the arc, they can still score. Nebraska, they're dead. So that's the problem here. If you're looking at how that game's going to go, and I think they've been BMOCing for the last couple of days, walking around, pounding on their chest, look at us, we beat the number 1 team in the country, and they're going to go to Carver Hawkeye and get a little slice of humble pie.
I like the way you did that little walk. I like that.
Hawks.
BMOC, big man on campus. For your kids that don't know what that means, that's the BMOC. Used to always make that reference. I like it. It makes perfect sense. I'm not saying you're 100% wrong. I'm just kind of looking at the numbers and going, okay, are you impressed with Iowa's schedule up to this point? I mean, that is the number 1 team. It was the number 1 team in the country that Nebraska beat. Nebraska's schedule up to that point wasn't that great. Iowa hasn't played anybody.
I mean, they lost to Purdue. They played Purdue. They lost on the road.
Opponent. There you go.
They lost, but one was at home. One was at Nebraska. One is at Purdue. So different there.
Okay. Right.
Iowa's played the number 13 team on KenPom, the number 20 team on KenPom, the number 3 team on KenPom, the number 15 team on KenPom, and the number 11 team on KenPom. I would push back on the comment that Iowa
played
has
all of those teams.
Yeah. Iowa's schedule is really good. They've played Creighton, Oklahoma, Purdue, Iowa State, and Wisconsin. So they've played a really good schedule. Now they've lost most of those games. Their best win, you could say they haven't beaten anybody. I'll give you that. Their best win is over Seton Hall, 68th best on KenPom. But they've played good competition. They just have lost all the good and the same thing goes for Nebraska, really. I mean, they lost to Creighton by 21. They lost to Minnesota, but their best wins now are over Purdue and Michigan State. But everything else is, 58 or higher. So Nebraska's got 2 wins they can hang their hat on that very well might put them into the NCAA tournament. Nebraska's never won a game in the tournament. They've made it a couple of times, but you got to give credit for Fred Hoiberg here because he's done a good job in the transfer portal, as you would expect. It's how he built Iowa State. And this has been kind of a rocky couple of years here for Iowa with Fran McCaffrey. And there's been a lot of questions about whether or not Fran's going to stick around long term. When will his last year be on the sidelines for the Hawkeyes? So these are the games that Hawkeye fans are going to pay attention to. Football's done. Now it's all eyes on college basketball. And Nebraska just beat the number 1 team in the country, number 1 team in your conference. You need to win this game. Like if you're Iowa, you're expected to win this game. You should win this game. I'm so surprised this game is being played at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 local time in Iowa. Like this game's being played late on a Friday night. Like they want their student body drunk. Like they want them feeling it tonight.
Is it going to be a high scoring game or not? That's all I need.
If it's high, if it's high scoring, if it goes over, Iowa wins.
Okay.
Do they cover? I'm not sold. If it goes under, however, Nebraska's best shot is to hit a lot of threes. Hit a bunch of threes, they can win the game. If they miss threes, they're going to lose the game. It just comes down to that. Like I don't have a great feel on the total, just because I think Iowa could be on and Nebraska misses a lot and it's a blowout, and the game goes under, or both teams just are running with no defense back and forth. It's a glorified AAU game, and we see a lot of offense. Friday night basketball is weird. It's a strange.
It used to be reserved for small schools, the MEAC or MAAC or whatever not the MAC conference, but the one up in
EAC,
East, right? The MEAC or Ivies, and now we got some Big Ten basketball and things TV, like that.
They knew when to put it. Fine. It's a standalone. I mean, they're not on opposite anything.
They'll play Friday night games too. The boys are all buzzing. We got Stevie Max to take Nebraska plus the points. CBW's hung up on the Syracuse game tomorrow. There's no score in the hockey game. Nashville, Dallas, no score in the first period. So first period under there, which
That's
is completely
crazy.
Right. Like the chances of being no score. I mean, we could have bet this a tie. It would have been thinking 1-1 or something in the first period, not 0-0. But the other game too, Philadelphia's played Minnesota, and there's no score in that game after the first period. So
I mean, I would jump in. I really would jump in if you have a chance to bet over 2.5 goals in the second period for Dallas. The Stars are 10-0 to the over at home in their last 10 home games. Like
for the game.
Yeah, for the game. So over 2.5 in the second period, I like it a lot. Like I think you'll see offense quick in that game.
What's that number? Find that number.
Well, normally it would be 1.5. With 0-0, you'd get 1.5, but some books just stick it to you and make you go 2.5. They don't offer you the 1.5. But that's really that's surprising that we're not seeing any offense there between the two. And the live total for that game is 4.5, which is it was 6.5 at close. It's 4.5 now, heavily juiced to the over. But second period just got underway. Am I seeing that right?
Not yet. 2.5. Okay. Wow. Over 2.5. I'm looking right now on the Caesars app. Over 2.5. Predator Stars is plus 120. Unders minus 150.
Heck, FanDuel's at plus 145.
On over?
Yeah. Over 2.5 goals is plus 145.
They'll probably adjust it after watching the show. They're watching the show right now. Hi, guys in the room. They are.
Minus 195 on the under. If you want to do 2 goals only. Like 3 goals in a period's a lot. Like I understand the point of like, it's yeah, I mean, 1 period, that's a lot. I mean, I know last night we saw 4 in the first period between Vancouver and Pittsburgh. But I mean, for a game that had 6.5 with the goaltenders, I mean, Wedgwood, we talked about like, why wasn't it 7? Because I think Wedgwood can do this. Like sometimes at home, Wedgwood just plays really well, and then the game goes under.
Sure.
So, I mean, they haven't. Ottinger's been hurt for a while. So depending on like what version of Wedgwood are you going to wind up getting, and Saros can do this too. I mean, Nashville for a good period of time during this year, they were the best team to a first period over 1.5 goals, and then Saros has gotten hot, and he's stopped that from happening. So we haven't seen nearly as many first period overs for Nashville. But if you have options to second period over, I mean, plus 145 at FanDuel is a great bet to get 3 goals here in the second period. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to hit, but I like it with the plus money to jump in on that. You know, and it's heavy juice to the under.
You can find 2 flat too.
Who has 2 flat?
Overs minus quarter. Yeah. Capital M, capital K. Mac just sent me the text that wherever he's at, he sees over 2 is minus a quarter.
What book is that? I want to know what book is putting flat 2. I love that. 2 is great. You get a push out of it. That's tremendous.
It's fair.
It's the hook.
Book I would rather put 2, right?
Really?
Because you would lay a quarter and go over 2
100%.
rather than taking a quarter or plus 130 or whatever that is and go
3.
over 2.5, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
So-
I over 2.5. I like it. Plus 145. I like that a lot. I mean, that's at FanDuel. That's good plus money to jump in on with FanDuel with that. So we'll watch the second period in Dallas between the Stars and the Predators, and then the Flyers and the Wild. I stayed entirely off of that game. I didn't touch that game. The Pacers and the Hawks. So here we are. No Tyrese Halliburton again. The total was 252. It was 257 at open. It was bet down. We're at 250.5 right now. 10 to play in the third quarter. It's 71-64 for the Pacers. Does the game go over?
Boy, oh boy. Over what? The current number?
Well, it's almost
over the closing number.
It's 251.5. It closed at 252.5. So we're almost back to the closing number.
We're back to the original number. I still think it goes under. It goes under.
It's going to be tight. If you bet under, I mean, they've been betting under. I mean, under 257.5, I think you're probably okay. But that's the Pacers without Halliburton are not scoring nearly as much as they were, and the books have yet to fully adjust that number. They're still putting up the big numbers, the 255s, 56, 57. So we'll watch that game and other games in the NBA coming up on the other side. Matt and Dave, Friday night, in-game live here on SportsGrid.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
InGame Live on a Friday night. How are you? Dave Sharapan, Matt Perrault with you guys. We are here for another hour or so with you, breaking down the games. We've not talked about all the playoff games. We're going to keep doing that. We'll get to Cam Stewart coming up in the next hour, get his picks coming up here. Dave, when it comes to the weather, do you like that we're dealing with weather for 2 games, or do you rather have the games in the domes that have no weather to worry about?
Two different schools of thought, at least from the book's perspective. Knowing what you know and knowing that the elements are not a part of it, I think you feel a little bit better. And I know people bet overs. So, Detroit and the Rams, they just bet the over. Dallas, at least the numbers a little bit. I mean, it's only a point different, but you're getting thoughts that it could go under or over. I mean, you think about the West, the NFC, the games are going to go San Francisco. No real weather issues there unless it rains. Tampa, it's Florida, no real weather issues there. The AFC, complete opposite.
Yeah.
You sit in a book on Saturday, forget the Houston game. You take nothing but under bets. Saturday, nothing. Nobody bets over. Teasers, nothing.
Right.
And then Sunday morning, you wake up, you take nothing but Buffalo and Pittsburgh under bets. You have been taking nothing but under bets forever. I don't think they both go under. Let's put it that way. One will, one won't. The one that won't will surprise you. And the one that does, you'll be like, why didn't I put more on it? It happens every year. But you know what you get in January in these situations.
That's how I am. I bet over 9.5 rebounds for Victor Wembanyama tonight. He has 8 rebounds, and we're halfway through the second quarter. So should have put more money down on that one. I should have put more money down on Wembanyama over 9.5. It's like, man, that was a good play. But the other play was Paul George over 23.5 points, and that's not great. He has 6 at the moment, so I need PG to get rolling here. This is one of those little buys in a high. It's a quick one. Not going anywhere. Don't move. Hour 2's on deck. More on the football games this weekend in the NFL playoffs. Dave and Matt back right after this here on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good Friday nights, Friday evening, hour 2. Matt Perrault, Dave Sharapan. We're going to be bouncing in this hour. All right. We got basketball live. We got football tomorrow and Sunday and Monday. Got college hoops all weekend. Cam's going to come in here and dumpster dive. He probably would like the Trash Pandas. He might actually like that name a lot. He might actually be a little.
Actually,
might be his mascot.
Ask him. We'll have to ask him if he knows it. Yeah, he would rep it well because he does it all the time. Goes in there and finds the scraps, and he'll tell you all about it.
Pacers Hawks is the NBA game we've talked about the most because of the total. The Pacers were just an automatic over team. The live total is 247.5 at the moment, 84-72. Pacers over the Hawks, 6 to play in the third quarter. Pistons leading the Rockets, amazingly enough, by 10. So we have bad loss for Houston.
Will they hang on?
They're only favored by 3.5. If you give you what the books think of what that lead's going to be at the end of the game, the books are not now. It's 1.5. The books are not trusting Rocket money coming in quickly here on the Rockets, right?
No,
so
you get a
take the plus 1.5.
Closed 8.5 point favorites. Bet it now.
74-52. The Sacramento Kings are getting killed on the road against the 76ers. That live total is 16, or line is 16.5, 226.5 from a total perspective. The Bulls are working the Warriors, 75-62, 9.5 the live line, 253.5 is the total. Dave, you had made mention of this before we came on the air tonight. That when was the last time the Warriors were dogs to the Bulls? It had to have been pre-Steph, right? There's no way this is like a common.
There might have been one game where they were resting everybody and DeMar DeRozan, and the Bulls team might have been a point favorite or 2-point favorite or something like tonight. But when I saw that line this morning, I'm like, how the mighty have fallen, right? The Warriors are 2.5 point dogs to the Chicago Bulls, who nobody knows what they are, who they are, other than a team below 500. And listen, this is we're seeing transitions all over, right? Nick Saban retired. Bill Belichick moved on from New England. We're seeing teams that have been good for a long, long time, like your New England Patriots, be very bad. It was kind of fun. I had to take my shot when I could. Don't hold it against me.
I don't get upset. If your team just don't get mad if I laugh. If your team loses by 30, tomorrow. Don't get upset if I laugh at you.
It's Sunday. The game's Sunday,
Whatever,
not tomorrow.
Sunday.
Please. I mean, live another day in the playoffs. All right. And I'm telling you now, God forbid, I'm going to be insufferable on Monday if the Steelers win.
That's good.
They're putting
That's
out
great.
hype videos. It's all kind of things. I'm excited. But listen, you're my friend. Jack's my friend. People watching, my friend. I got to ask you this. So I go downstairs during the break, and Mrs. Kinsig is home from work. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's holding a bouquet of flowers. I didn't get them for her.
Okay.
I asked, what are those flowers? Somebody got them for me and delivered to them at work. Really? For what? I know when her birthday is. It's not today. It is in January. Okay. It's not today. Why did you get those flowers? And the little kid, 9 years old, said, isn't it Pharmacist Day today? And I said, oh, I didn't know. The wife is a pharmacist. Am I supposed to know that? Am I supposed to know that today is like National Pharmacist Day and have flowers delivered to her at work? Am I supposed to know that, Perrault, or no?
No. But who sent them?
Well, we got to get to the bottom of this. I don't know.
Because I have a far bigger question as to who remembered that it was National Pharmacist Day.
That's what I'm talking about. See what I'm saying? She's watching the show now. I told her we were going to talk about this. Jessica,
I'd be far more interested. I'd be far more interested in the person that actually remembered that, because that seems to be a little bit of a. If you're remembering that and you happen to be a male, I would want to know exactly what the point of you remembering that would be. Because that's a very unique and very specific thing that 99% of Americans would never know.
That's what I'm very, very concerned about all of it.
I'm just saying. If it was a friend, a fellow pharmacist sent it just because they knew, then okay. But then that could be who is this person exactly?
It's a big secret. Ha, ha, ha. Enjoy the show with Perrault. We're going out to dinner. And that's how it was left. I said, oh, okay.
Huh.
She said, you talk to him more than me anyway. I said, oh, we're working. You know, I can't help it. I mean, she might be right about that.
She's right, but it's all in a work context, so it's a little bit of a different situation. But
most of the time.
That's interesting, though. That's an interesting thought. I would never I didn't know there was such a thing, to be quite. I never knew there was a National Pharmacist Day, because I would spin it around and say, like, is there a National Talk Show Day? Is there like a media a media personality day? Do we have a day?
No.
Because, I mean, if we did, then like she would need to know that, and I guarantee you she would know the date to that. So, you know.
I can guarantee I wouldn't even get a mention of that or flowers or anything. A new hat,
right?
Nothing. If there was,
because the world's rigged, right? The world's always rigged. Yeah, the world's rigged. So it's rigged against us at that point. Yeah.
About this Pharmacist Day thing, I would have done the flower thing. She likes to get flowers. I would have delivered them myself.
But you do the flower thing on your own, like randomly though. Like you don't do it for like an occasion. You do it out of nowhere. So
if the Steelers win, guess who's getting flowers on Monday? You know it.
Why?
Right.
I'd rather give her when the Chiefs lose, then go buy her flowers. That's better.
That's true. She's going to be rooting for the Chiefs on Saturday night. You know she is.
That's
why I can't even, if I bet the Dolphins, I can't even tell her. She's going to be sitting there rooting for the Chiefs no matter what.
So if the Chiefs lose, then go buy her flowers. I'm like, sorry, honey, your team lost. I'm really sorry. It stinks. Travis is going to, he's no longer going to be relevant for a couple of months. It's going to be tough.
Fair.
They have to.
All right. I'm going to sign your name to the flowers, so you know.
Do that. Yeah, it'd be great. He did say he's going to play next year, which is like, he said, I have no reason to not continuing to play football. They're trying hard, man. They are in full-blown PR mode. They are in full-blown, protect Travis Kelce and protect his rep and get him off the stage, get him away from the controversy, calm it all down. It is. You know what's funny, too? The Chiefs used to be so like Andy Reid never was one for any of this stuff, like the publicity, the commercials, the attention. They won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl last year, which is amazing. But you just wonder how tired are they mentally? Like, is there a part of them that just wants it to be done just for a bit? Like, we've played so much football the last 2 years. We're just tired. Like, we need to go do something else for a couple of months. Get away from the game.
Rest after the season. I don't think you're thinking that during the season. But they're going to disappear after that. Like, no more commercials.
100%.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Goodbye. Thank goodness. Good riddance. More on the games this weekend. Lions and the Cowboys and more next. In-game live on a Friday night here on SportsGrid.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. BV. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression this season. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
In-game live Friday night. Dave Sharapan, Matt Perrault with you guys here on SportsGrid. We're watching NBA basketball, Pacers and the Hawks. This game is not going to go over. 77 points for Atlanta, 239.5. Live total, 94 for the Pacers. They're up big on the road, but the Hawks are not doing their part here. That number closed at 252.5. It could still potentially get there, but most likely it's not going to. We've got a Spurs team up 61-43 on the Hornets, which is, I like the Spurs. Wembanyama's fun. I'm on his over for his rebounds. I bet over 8.5 rebounds for Wembanyama. He's got 8 at the moment, so he should wind up. Hopefully he gets back on the floor here and gets a couple of more boards for the Spurs, but we're in late second quarter, so plenty of time coming with that. 65-53. The Clippers are up on the Memphis Grizzlies. Paul George has got 17 points. So I mentioned he had 6 in the second. He just scored 9. So it got us here to 17 points. So we're going there. I guess 11. Sorry, yeah, 11. Don't trust my math. 11 here for 17. So he pumped up there. Got some offense rolling, came back on the floor. So we're looking good on the over 23.5 points for Paul George for my other props. So that's good with that. So
would you believe if I told you I'm sweating the Purdue-Fort Wayne Robert Morris game that I told you about earlier? Bobby Moe, which is what you called him on the phones back in the day. I've always known Robert Morris to be Bobby Moe.
Love it.
Is tied 82-82 in overtime. So we had the game covered. It's tied now. So I don't even know what to tell you to do. I don't even know if your book has a line on it in game. I have no idea. But I want to shout out, Big Business, a friend of ours, one of those guys. He sent the text and got in the chat and said, sweating this Bobby Moe because of you, Dave.
Funny.
I'm sweating it with you, too.
All right, so here's a game to watch. If you want a college basketball game here tonight, and I'm going to bet this when we get off the air. Boise State is at Nevada tonight in the Mountain West Conference. Boise is 6-6-1, 6-6-1 ATS. Nevada is 11-4 ATS, but they're 15-1 straight up. Like Nevada is a tournament team right now. According to the metrics I was looking at last night, they've got Nevada as a 7 seed in the dance, which I was like, wait, what? How are they
this early already? Seed? We're doing bracketology in January?
Dave, it's January 12th. It's not early. It's not that early.
It's 2 months out.
It's not that early. It's not that early.
Okay.
Conference tournaments are 6 weeks away. Line is 6.5 here for 15-1. They've won 8 consecutive games. Nevada has out of nowhere. They're perfect at home. They're 9-0 at home this year. Their only loss. The reason why I haven't been paying attention to them is because up to this point, I was watching Nevada. They played Drake here in Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center, and they lost by 20. So I just kind of washed my hands of Nevada, and I was like, that's it. They stink. They haven't lost since. They've won every game since. The only game they've lost all year was a 72-53 loss to Drake. They've won every other game they've played, and they've won big. 13, 15, 33, 13, 24, 17, 12, 14, 25, 49. Like, these games aren't close. It's amazing.
So we're going.
We're
saying
I'm laying the points.
Lay it.
I'm laying the points.
Right.
Yeah, I'm laying it with Nevada tonight to go ahead and to see what they're going to do against Boise tonight. They're 36th in KenPom. KenPom has this as a 6-point win, so it's pretty much right on the number here. If you want to go by KenPom stats, 6.5, you may be able to find a 6 that's out there for Boise State and Nevada. But that game is on Fox Sports 1, 10:30 Eastern time start. So if you're late night owls on the East Coast, give you a college basketball game to watch tonight. But Nevada has been hot. They've been hot. Boise's not bad, though. But, I mean, it's remarkable. The Nevada offense has been clicking, and they're playing really, really well right now for UNR, as they are called from the UNLV folks. Their arch rival.
You see what's happening in the Flyers and the Wild game, by the way? Have you taken a peek at that score? 1-1 in the second period. That's a good score for hockey.
The other game.
Still 0-0.
That bet's dead. I bet over 6.5. See you later.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
That's probably done. Second period over. We'll get there in the one and not the other either. It looks that way, right?
Right.
I mean,
my second period,
over,
my 2 prop bets will come in. My over bet in hockey will lose, and my night will ride on Iowa, Nebraska, laying the 4 points. Now it's 4.5. I laid 4 with the Hawkeyes against Nebraska. That game will tip off here in about 15 minutes from Carver Hawkeye on, I believe, the Big Ten Network's got that game for you guys for that. By the way, there is a national TV talk show host day. It's October 23rd. There is a day for us.
Really?
Yep.
There
is a day
you're
for
not
us.
Just making this up.
I'm not. Sonic, one of our great friends, Sonic went ahead and gave us the official news that is a October 23rd every year.
Okay.
National Talk Show Host Day. So if there's a Pharmacist Day, there is a Talk Show Host Day. We have a day.
She still don't believe I'm even a talk show host. She won't even call me that. But if that's the label that we're going with and there's a day for it, I'm going to drop it on the family calendar. And then she's going to go, what is this? I don't know who put that on there, and I'm going to get flowers from, we'll let the brigade pick the name. Monica's not bad. We'll see what name we can come up with. See if we'll have her on the show that day too. That'll be good. All
right,
let's go football. Let's go to Saturday football.
Houston,
please.
Houston, game 1. Let's talk Houston at home. Cleveland on the road favorites. Joe Flacco in the offense up against the Houston defense. That's the game to me. But what do you make of the Houston offense up against the Browns defense? Because which version is showing up? You've been telling me all week that playoffs different than the regular season. So the Browns stinking on the road defensively, throw that out. I'm not so quick to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I am either. Been listening to the rhetoric all week. Everybody kind of besmirching Houston and saying that it's Flacco and the Browns and that offense they're going to go play the Ravens.
Oh boy, we're looking ahead that fast. We're just advancing them past Houston that quickly.
Put them right going back to Baltimore where it all started and all this other stuff. It's a great storyline, but hold up. Houston can win this football game. Total wise.
Look,
how's this go? I think this is an offensive game. I think we have a lot of points. I think we have a comfortable over. I mean, that don't mean they're scoring 70, but 44 and a half is the total, depending on where you shop. I think we get to 50 points.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the over. I like the dog. Look, the numbers for the Cleveland Browns just aren't good. Like, it's just, I don't mean any disrespect to what Cleveland's done and what Joe Flacco has done, but I mean, they're 2-5-1 ATS on the road, 4-5 for Houston. I'll give you that, but they've covered 3 of the last 4 games. They covered the last home game against Tennessee in that must-win situation. I know Cleveland's much better than Tennessee, but you start looking at the numbers and just what they give up on the road. It's about 10 more points on the road that Cleveland gives up than they do at home. It's a different team.
Right.
And this is a dome. This is not outdoors in Cleveland where it's cold and they can use the weather and the elements to their advantage. I like Houston to win the game. I really do. I know it's a rookie quarterback, and you said it earlier in the week. Rookie quarterbacks are automatic fades. Rookie head coaches. I don't know. I feel like C.J. Stroud may be a different type of animal here playing in this game.
Okay. Well,
it'll
start off the weekend nice because it's going to be an over the first game, and then the KC Miami game's going under. That's the way we start on Saturday.
Same game teaser. More on it next. In-game live, Matt and Dave with you here on SportsGrid.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those 2 plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, PrimeTime. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's a Friday night. That means it's time for us. Matt Perrault, Dave Sharapan with you guys on SportsGrid each and every Friday night, walking you through the games going on right now and previewing the weekend. We've gone over the games on Saturday with the Texans hosting the Browns and then the weather game that's going to be happening, both weather games, but the frigid one, Kansas City up against Miami. Let me ask you a cold weather question, Dave. What's the coldest weather you can remember being outside in?
The coldest game I was ever at was Penn State.
No, just period. No, outside period. No, not a game. What's the coldest outside temperature?
This might have been it.
Do you know? Oh, okay.
It was Penn State at home against Notre Dame. I was in college. It was 1990, I believe, or 91. And it was, I think the temperature was 12, but the wind chill was minus 15 or something like that.
That's the coldest temperature you've ever felt?
No, with the wind chill was 15. No, the coldest I remember at home in Pittsburgh, not at the game, was minus 18. It was just below minus 20. That's the worst. Yeah. You?
Yeah, air temperature. Nebraska, minus 15 in Nebraska, air temperature.
Yeah, minus 18.
It was a record. Nebraska in one calendar year, in the same calendar year, had a negative 15 air temperature and a 115 air temperature in the same calendar year.
What? That's a difference of 130 degrees?
Yep. That's what living in Nebraska is like. No, this is nothing. This is balmy and consistent compared to Nebraska. Nebraska's crazy.
Like 25 to 115, but positive 25 here. That's about as low as it ever goes. Minus 15 to 115?
Negative 15. And the humidity, and then the wind chill puts you at minus one. It was minus 45 degrees with the wind chill. And then the humidity in Nebraska is unbearable. Like unbearable. So it's 115 with humidity, and then it's negative 15 air temp with wind chill to negative 45. Living in Nebraska was by far, like, I thought I had it bad in New England. Like, I thought New England temperatures were really erratic and crazy. And I would just laugh. I was like, this is just a whole nother example of why people in New England are so myopic and they think that everything revolves around them, because the Midwest is way worse. It is way worse. To be west of Lincoln is way worse than being in, like, say, I don't know, like Newburyport, Mass.
Oh,
very different.
Getting cold. I'm just getting cold just listening to this. I'm gonna put a beanie on for this right now. I get cold. Literally, I just put it cold.
It is really cold in Vegas right now. It is really cold in Vegas right now. There's no debate in there. It is not nice. So what if I offered you tickets to go watch the Chiefs?
You couldn't pay me
negative 30, free tickets to go see KC play in the playoffs. You would not go to watch KC host Miami.
I got to sit there the whole game?
Yep.
You could pay me $100,000. I wouldn't go.
Really? Oh, you pay me $100,000. I'd do it in 2 seconds. But I'm not going with free. I'm not going with free tickets. No, I'm not going with free tickets. Absolutely not. No way.
No.
I've gotten better with because
cold after. No way. Can't do it.
The cold plunges have changed me a little bit when it comes to cold temperatures. I'm not as big of a wimp as I used to be. I'm better now with the cold temperatures because I go. Yep. But I'm going into water. I'm going into water that's like 46 degrees. Yeah. So it's not like anywhere near what I've seen people go into temperature of water of like 1 degree. So like I've seen them like they have to break the ice up in order to get into it. But sitting outside for 3 hours plus in the wind, the Midwest wind, and I've been at a freezing cold game, playoff game for the Chiefs up against the Ravens, in which Joe Flacco went in there and won, beat the Chiefs, knocked them out of the playoffs.
You were at that game?
I was at that game. It's freezing cold, and the wind is unbearable at Arrowhead. It is just this is why I can't see Miami winning the game. Like, they're not going to feel their feet and fingers during the game.
Yeah. If I could, if you got me all that gear that, like, you know, you can wear the stuff and like not feel nothing, I would attempt it, if I was getting paid, yes, maybe, but free tickets. But I got to have every inch covered, just like they did in that warning. They said I would have nothing exposed. I would have glasses on because my eyes hurt. Everything hurts. You remember what it was like in those days, like that, when that cold causes that physical hurt, pain, whether your cheeks hurt, your eyes hurt, something like that. Like in Pittsburgh, when I graduated school, I had to walk from a parking lot 2 blocks away to my dad's store. And in the winter, when the wind was whipping around those buildings, like I used to whine and cry to my dad as we were walking. He was like, Dave, would you just walk faster? Put your head down. I got a scarf. I got the hood. I got everything. I had a fur cap. I just knew I wasn't built for the cold. And then when I finally moved to Curacao, I was done. So, I don't know if I could do it, Perrault. I just don't think this is what's going to be impressive about how do they play this game. There ain't going to be no passing. Or is there really going to be passes more than 10 yards if the wind is blowing? No way.
No. By the way, Jack, your second period is live. Your bet is live. You got 4:16 to go in the second period, 2 goals in for Nashville. So if you bet over 2, you're at a push. But power play for the Predators right now, trying to add to go up 3-0 over Dallas to get the over here for the second period. 2.5 was a plus 145. So you're live. You're live
Send
here.
it home, Jerome.
You need one more goal. You need one more goal for the Predators here, and then or even for the Stars in the next 3:40 to get that thing to go over. But if you bet over 2, laid the 125, you've pushed at worst for that game. So I don't think my over is going to hit unless we get 3 goals from Dallas in the third period. But crazier things have happened. So let's even get over 6.5 for those 2 teams going after it. Okay, we've not talked Cowboys and their game against the Packers. Are you positive Dallas is going to win this game?
No, I'm not positive, but I feel like I'm more positive that Green Bay is going to cover. I think Dallas is going to win. I think this is back and forth. Team with the ball last wins. Unless Dak throws 2 picks. If Dak does that thing, what are you smiling for? You're laughing now. You're thinking this is what's going to happen? Dak's going to lose. What?
Our friend said Bill Belichick's going to be coaching the Dallas Cowboys next season.
It's not
I don't think he's wrong.
Somehow work the Patriots and Belichick into this segment. If McCarthy and the Cowboys lose, he's out?
Yes.
And Bill's
ESPN reported tonight that Nick Sirianni, it's on the table. He loses, he's out. Jeffrey Lurie just made it known. You lose, I'm taking Belichick. He's coaching for his job Monday night.
Wow. Everything just took on a whole new dynamic. When Belichick
You got the greatest coach of all time. You're the greatest coach of all time. You have a Boston-born owner.
Philly?
You have a Boston-born owner sitting there who knows him well. Knows Belichick well. Dreams of to take the greatest coach of all time. Imagine that press conference in Philadelphia. Are you kidding me? Oh, they'd be going crazy. It's perfect. It's in the NFC. It's not a far move. Perfect for Bill.
You think the Bucs win the game?
I'm telling you, all week I've been saying that. I'm saying all week.
They're watching us for the first time today.
No, I believe Tampa Bay is going to win this game. I do. I think the home teams are going to rule here in Wild Card Weekend.
Except in this game. This will be the game somehow.
This team can't get out of their own way.
I know. It's one of 2 things.
This is the meme of the guy walking with the office, trying to walk with the big barrel of beans, just spilling everything all over the place. This is what Philadelphia is. They can't walk straight. They can't walk and talk. You can't do anything right. Their defense is garbage. Their secondary is trash, like trash panda trash. They're horrible.
Trash Panda, nice work getting that.
Mike Evans. Bet Mike Evans props.
Bet
them all. Bet them all.
Light them up.
I think he's. I mean, I know the Eagles will know that too, but that secondary doesn't just magically get better. They're second to last in the NFL in yards given up passing this season. 31st, the Eagles secondary.
Don't they have success offensively in this game?
Who, the Eagles?
Yes.
Yes, because the defense for the Bucs is equally as bad. You can't run on them, but you can throw on them like crazy. So,
Right.
AJ Brown, you just deleted all the Eagles stuff off your Instagram account. You kind of want the football, don't you? You kind of want the football, right? He needs the football. AJ Brown needs the football. He gets the football. Okay. That game's going over. Eagles, Bucs, over. Both defenses are trash.
Well,
although you cannot run on the Bucs. You can throw on them though. Yeah. So I'll be very curious to see how the line movement goes. We're looking at what? Laying 2.5, laying 3. Shocked the move on the Eagles came in. I don't know. I like the home team. Give me the Bucs. Give me Baker. Give me Mike Evans. We'll get to Cam Stewart. His picks are coming up next. We'll go dumpster diving with some trash pandas next. Matt and Dave with you here on SportsGrid.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Whites said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, your mind. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. It's not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's a Friday night in-game live. Dave Sharapan, Matt Perrault. We now are going to welcome in our friend Cam Stewart to the program as we talk about temperatures, cold winds, rain, all sorts of nasty wind chill and freezing. Dave's wearing the beanie for a reason. Cam, I asked Dave this question. I'll ask you this question. What's the coldest temperature you can remember being outside in?
I used to live in the Arctic in a place called Yellowknife. So I'm thinking minus 58.
What? Air temp?
Yeah. I was house sitting for this lady. She went to Malaysia. She was a real stooge. You have oil back there. Like you have to fill your oil heater where the guy comes in with a hose and fills up the oil heater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It ran out.
Boston. Yep.
So I wake up in the morning in a house, breathing. It was like minus 20 something in the house. I got 2 cats on my face, Prickle and Curry. I go, these cats are going to die. I don't know what I'm doing. I just moved to this place for 4 months from outside of Toronto. So I go there like Paul Bunyan. I go grab the axe. I start cutting wood. I'm going, I hate you, Mom. I hate you. I'm going to die. Why'd you tell me to come here? I hate this place. And then anyway, I built a fire, put the cats there, cranked the oven. We got it done. Called the guy, lied about a fitness membership. So I used his shower for a week. And then we got the problem fixed. But it was a disaster. Minus 58. Yellowknife. Take a look at it on the map. It's north of Edmonton.
One of the best Cam Stewart stories ever. Perrault's face.
I didn't even tell you the rest of it, Dave. They thought I was a hobo. I'm sneaking into the YMCA, the racket club. Hey, Mr. Stewart, do you think about a membership? And I just said, listen, man, I'm using your shower. I just moved here. I got to tell you. I'm looking at this lady's place down in Old Town. Her pipes broke. She goes, that's all you had to tell me, man. You can do whatever you want. We want to play some squash? I go, yeah, maybe after work. I'd love to, just absolutely crush some balls. It was crazy. I called my mom. It was like back then, too. It was like Northern Telecom. It was like $8 a minute. Like, remember, it's not like it is today.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a phone bill. It was like $1,000. I go, this is fun. I didn't realize, back there, a bottle of beer was like, I told you, I think a Sunny D was $38. I'm like, can you run that by me again? A jug of juice. Like, you go more north, you're paying like $50. I told you, I went to this place. They had Pepsi and Coke. It was $4 a can. That was back in 98. They have to ship it up there, man. But the government does subsidize bread, milk, egg. Like they have this list of like things you need to live. And if your stuff is not on the list, alcohol, cigarettes, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, bring your wallet. Bring your wallet or like your bonds. You might have to cash them in. Like it's very expensive up there. But one thing you get is great fish. And they're serving that stuff in restaurants for like $500 a plate. I was hanging it on a clothesline. I had so much fish. Yeah, caribou, delicious.
Minus 58. All right,
you win.
Got me crushed. I had minus 15.
Caribou. You ever had caribou, Matt? You're a healthy guy. That stuff's leaner than that's the leanest meat in the world. It's delicious.
I don't think I've had.
I used to play rec hockey there, and the guys felt bad for me because they all worked in the mines. They were making like $130,000 a year. I was making minimum wage, and I was going to work every day. And I played on this hockey team. They're like, Cam, they go, you got to understand, you can't be working at this place if you decide to like live here for a few more years. Like you're not going to survive here. I go, I know. It's like I got no money. They used to come in there and they used to literally bring me hockey bags full of like all the meat they'd get. So I would like have money because that would cost me thousands of dollars. So they basically saved my life. Then one day I went and I got a job. The guy goes, do you know how to write? I go, no, I can't write. He goes, sports? I go, yes. Sports, yes. Because I was doing like everything at the radio station. I was the political guy, the sports guy, the weather guy.
Wow.
You're everybody. It's like WKRP, like Les Nessman here, doing everything. So I do that. And then finally this guy goes, he taught me how to run, like I had to buy a camera and operate it. I learned how to run like a manual camera. And the editor's like, dude, as long as you're like not half brain dead, I'll just edit your work. We'll be fine. Then I took a job at a newspaper and it paid more money than the radio station. Then I stayed for 5 years.
How about that?
I met a lady who was a teacher. Oh yeah, if you're a teacher up there, they pay for everything. They paid for a condo or car. It's called Northern Living Allowance. Like if you're from the area and you go to school and come back, they pay for your education. I didn't know all this till I moved there. I'm an outsider. Like I'm an idiot. I'm like, wow, man, if I would have done all this stuff, I could have banked some cash. And anyway, that's my story. Minus 58, and the cats survived, and I'm here to tell you about it. God love the Arctic. Actually, that's why I'm in such a bad mood right now, Dave. I'm looking outside. It's an ice storm. I was thinking about you two guys in Vegas. I've had enough. I've lived in the Arctic. I give up. I'm waving the flag. I want hot now.
Right. You have to go south. You have to go south. Yes. There's no more living further north. You're only going south. There's guys in our chat looking up Yellowknife right now, and they cannot believe how far north Yellowknife is.
It's
That's
north
oh
of.
my.
You know what I
It's-
used to do, Matt? You're going to love this one. I'd have the weekend in Edmonton. That was like my big, ooh, let's party.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? Instead of flying, because it costs like $2,000, I went with this guy,
Right.
Steve. He had the same kind of time as me. He worked at a construction thing. So he'd go down. You'd have to take at least 4 days. It's an 18-hour drive. So we drove from Yellowknife. You'd have to get on a boat. They did like a ferry, the road, and then 18 hours in Edmonton. You trust me, if Edmonton had like 3 straight games, we'd go to every game every night and get like absolutely lit. Because once we came back, it's quite an effort. 18 hours to watch a hockey game. I love the sport.
Is 20 bucks enough though? So
20
Buffalo's
bucks
offering
no, Matt.
they're offering 20 bucks to shovel out the entire stadium. They're offering you 20 bucks an hour to go and break your back with snow trying to get that thing cleared.
How do they check the work? Like, there's going to be one guy that's like going to do 1,000 seats, and one guy's just going to be sitting there smoking menthols, going, "Where's my $100?" And he's not doing anything. I have a guy that ran a landscaping company, did plowing and shoveling. I told him, I go, you don't like call me for anything less than like 40 or 50 bucks. I used to do it actually right when I first started at SportsGrid. I was part-time, so I used to help him out landscaping and shoveling. It's not fun. Like now I'm a grown man, Dave. We're old, right? Like you've had I got health things going on. Like, hey, $50, man. Like a shoveling driveway, it's not fun work. I don't need to die for $50. I'm with Dave.
Listen, current temperature in Yellowknife right now is minus 37, and it feels like 60. So
okay,
there
Let's
you
see,
go.
minus 37. Was that minus 37 Fahrenheit, Dave?
Fahrenheit. Minus 37 Fahrenheit.
Minus 40. Let me work this out. I think almost close to minus 50, I would think.
Yeah,
right?
that's it's cold.
Yeah, that's take water, throw it up in the air, and it freezes on contact.
Yeah. Matt, I used to take a leak outside, whatever. Remember when the pipes burst? My urine was frozen before it hit the ground. Dead serious. Not even a lie. Not water. It crystallized.
Oh my God.
I could have
put a million things on the list of things we would hear tonight. We go dumpster diving with Cam Stewart. That won everything. That's amazing.
Do you have
I got Stewart sinking golf at 200 to 1.
We got to put the train back on the tracks.
Let's go with this.
Cardano knows my stories. He's okay. As long as I'll keep it. I'm keeping it clean. I'm just saying, hey,
he's fine. He's
out
to dinner on Friday night.
You don't have to live it. So I'm just telling you. Actually, I had some of my best friends in my life. Like I was thinking about going back there, but I could literally go to an all-inclusive for a month for the price it would cost me to fly there and see some old friends. Like that's the whole problem. You got to fly to Edmonton, then you got to go north, and blah 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 blah. It's a disaster. You like layovers? That's your place.
Cam, we were talking about you earlier, getting ready for the segment, because all season long you've gone dumpster diving. There's a baseball team in Huntsville called the Rocket City Trash Pandas. 100%. We got to get you a hat or a shirt or both because the logo's fantastic. But what are you looking at for the NFL board this week? You got plays, you got dumpster dives, you got anything at all for us?
Yeah, Dave. I'm actually not going dumpster diving, and I bet Buffalo, and that line went down to 9.5. So I'm kind of worried. If we have an ice storm here, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I guess the Pittsburgh Steelers might have an advantage now. But my whole thing, Matt, was I don't know how the Steelers are going to score. That's kind of why I took Buffalo. Like I think they're going to get 6 to 9 points. So if I think Buffalo can get 20, I'll win that bet. I'm on the Packers. I think it's too many points. I really like the evolution of Jordan Love. I think Dallas is, I got 7.5, but we're giving today's lines. I would still bet it at 7. I prefer the hook, but it's this Packers team, just watching them grow and evolve. And let's remember one thing, a very important game this year, guys. Remember that Thanksgiving game in good conditions in Detroit? Look what the Packers did to them in a nice, clean car. They don't care if it's outside, carpet, whatever. Like, they can play on that surface. I know Dallas is totally incredible at home, but that's too many points for me. Guys, I'm sticking with the Lions. I might regret this. A lot of people I respect are on the Rams. Like people I know outright. Rams. Morency, he's saying the same thing. And you know what? It's hard to make an argument against the Rams. They're the hottest team going in, but I just think that Lions offense will do more, probably over in that game as well. But I like the Lions to win that game by 4, right around the number. Chiefs, Dolphins, 44.5. I think it's down to 44. It's probably going to keep plummeting. I don't know how they get points in this game if it's going to be that cold. And I like the over in Packers Cowboys. What do you guys think about the card? And I'm thinking about taking the Dolphins, but it's really hard to bet that team right now. Oh, yeah, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. See, Frank Font, he's got my back. See, Jack, they got a job opening at CBC in Yellowknife, buddy. You're hired. Houston +9 and the Bills -2.5. Oh, they pay well.
Love it.
Hey, if you work for the government up there, those guys are making $150 a year. I'm just a stooge who worked for public radio. They're like,
so
damn, you
like,
got to work at the
so
CBC.
Let me ask you a question. Do you ever, Cam, did you ever keep track of just overall juice from a 7-point to a 6-point teaser? Like, what are you paying? 130? What are you paying? 130 on that?
One of my books is 130, and that's who I play my teasers with. Most of them are 40 cents now. Matt, I got to be honest with you. I'm one of those guys that I do keep a track of this stuff, but I'm not going to let it change my opinion. I think that 2.5 to 3 is really important. I agree. I know some 100%. People are like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can. If you're going to give me a teaser where I get a team at 2.5 instead of 3 on the push, I will pay 10 cents on a teaser. So I look at things and people are like, oh, you don't want to cross through 0. I do sometimes. If you give me a number like 2.5 to 4.5, that's a number that I look at. So everybody has their style. I know a lot of people. I don't like to argue with people when we do shows. They tell me, oh, never tease through 0. We've had this argument before. I've been there, done that. But I understand it. Over time, it's probably not a good thing. But there's situations where I think it's fine. And I think, Matt, I think you're fair that way because I think you follow most of the rules, but you're like me. It's like sometimes you can bend them. There's no rules to gambling that says you have to do this
agree.
and this applies.
And that's why I asked, because I think that 7-point, that 6-point to 7-point teaser conversation, there's so many people who are like, oh, that's too expensive. You can't do the 7. And I'm like, look at the number you're playing. You're playing less than 3. Like you're getting through both those key numbers.
With the Bills, you're getting them at 3.5.
So I'd rather, at 7-point, it's 2.5. It's a totally different play. It's a much different bet in what could be a very tough to score game where you could see a 3.96 type of win type of thing for Buffalo. So I just want to ask, I love that you play 7 points because I've been playing more 7-point teasers as the year has progressed here because that exact reason.
Saves you.
Get below 3.
I actually look back at my results from playing 6 and 6.5. I would rather pay 10 cents and lose a bet. Especially if you're going to play a couple $100, like whatever the heck your unit size is. Like, do things I always tell Matt, and I appreciate you and Dave. We've always said this: do things your way. People can give you advice for stuff, but everybody's got a way in a system. I'll play mine. Golf, Dave. I told you about Stuart Sink this week. This guy's 50 years old. He's in second place at like 260 to 1. I need a miracle this weekend. Problem is, there's 9 guys on the leaderboard tied for the lead. This golf tournament's going to get stupid. Brady's his guys are involved again. Brady Cannon's a really good golf capper, and we're going to be doing a show in the future. I think me, him, and Carver we're working on a golf show when football slows down, probably around March when we'll do that leading up to the Masters and stuff. So if you guys like golf betting, we'll have a lot for you. Trust me, full bag.
Sounds like a plan. Did you have? I don't know if you heard, Cam, but Bill Belichick's no longer coaching. This guy Mayo's coaching for New England.
Mayo.
Yeah, and Nick Saban's done at Alabama. We're all trying to figure out where does Belichick go, okay? Because Alabama already got their replacement. New England already got their replacement. You got any thoughts on where Belichick ends up?
Absolutely none. I think he might not even coach.
Think he's done?
I think he might be done, yeah.
Wow. All right.
I don't even want him in Seattle. I want somebody else, not Bill.
We'll see you top of the hour on Sports Rage. We're back to wrap here on our Friday night.
You have sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
favorite. I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year. in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, your mind. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those 2 plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression this season. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Perrault Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
InGame Live, PrimeTime. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
$19-10, Iowa opens up a 9-point lead on Nebraska as we go in-game live. How are you? Our final segment with us before we hand things off to Gabe Morency, Matt Perrault, and Dave Sharapan. I have 2 prop bets, Dave. Both games are blowouts. I have over 22.5 points over 23.5 points for Paul George. He has 22. Team's up by 20 with 9 to play. Mm-hmm. And I am on over 9.5 rebounds for Victor Wembanyama. He has 9. Mm-hmm. His team's up by 20, late 3rd. Mm-hmm. If I miss both these prop bets, this is why I hate prop betting. Numbers are so good. They're just like 1 or 2, either side, razor edge type of stuff that we'll see if they cash or not.
Game script dictates sometimes whether you win or lose, which kind of stinks because, you have it handicapped right and it gets close and then they don't play. And you go, why did I do this again? Oh man, that's a tough. You start asking yourself a lot of questions, like Cam living at Yellowknife for 5 years, and you go, "Wow, I did that." Like I sat outside of the game where temperature was 20 degrees below zero with the wind chill. You start to question a lot of things.
The one benefit, Memphis has opened up on a 9-4 run to open up the 4th quarter, so they're cutting into the lead here. So the closer the game gets, the more likely it is Paul George gets 2 more points, and I'll get over on that. It's a pretty big
Golden
lead here.
State? You see the Golden State scored up 110-98. The 4th quarter just started.
Rallied.
Did they win tonight?
Yes, 48-20. They outscored the Chicago Bulls in the 3rd quarter. 48-20.
Whoops. Yeah.
Warriors in the 3rd quarter. It's still a live bet.
Still good. It still applies.
Still a good bet.
Yeah.
It's still a bet when they're losing. It's still a bet to go ahead and jump on in.
Nuggets tonight, Perrault. Laying or taking? Nuggets minus 5.5. What do you think?
Lay it.
Boy, they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed at the Jazz the other night.
Yep.
Nuggets play well at home. I think this line may be a little bit short.
4 or 5 for the Pelicans. 4 or 5 winning the game.
Here we go, Steelers!
He's Dave. I'm Matt. Next Friday, we'll talk to you. Morency's up next. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week here on SportsGrid.